Hey folks, it's us, podcasting wonderkins John Bishop and Lucas Southworth.
Although this is a podcast about cars, it is not age appropriate for the target demographic of these films, as we usually end up talking about the reproductive organs of Lightning McQueen.
Alright, now let's take a look under the hood. Hello, I'm Lucas Southworth.
And I'm John Bish. I just ate some ice cream. and I'm John Bishop.
And welcome to the chat, the only podcast brave enough to ask a question.
Hey, what's up with cars?
Real quick, what's up? How did ice cream make you make that sound? Did you burp? What was that?
That was, sometimes when I eat, dairy products, my mouth gets, it gets a little bit, more salivation to it, but in order to, counteract that, I just kind of clench my, back of my jaw a little bit more, which means that it's harder to speak. So, I stumbled over my word, and it just immediately got all mangled up.
Huh. Fascinating. Well, as I'm sure you could tell, this is our episode on time travel Mater, and we teased it a couple episodes ago. We're finishing up Mater's Tall Tales. We're not letting it get out of our minds. Everybody.
All of you who were very concerned that we were going to let that one by, no worries. We got you.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, like I said, we already talked about the other, 87 Mater's Tall Tales. There are 9, I don't know. And we did say, we can't fit this one in because it's too bonkers, and I think I already said the title, and you maybe, I assume I reference it in some hastily thought up pun in the title of the episode. But this one is about Mater having the ability to travel through time, which is kind of a lot.
One interesting note, it's not necessarily that he finds a time machine or anything. No, he claims to be a time machine.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting.
He personally gains the ability to travel through time.
Mm-hmm.
We should tell the people what happens in Mater's Tall Tales, Time Travel Mater. And we're going to talk about another thing a little later, but I want to focus on Time Travel Mater for the right now.
Yep. All right, so in Time Travel Mater, the entire episode is based on the grandfather paradox, where Lightning and Mater exist within a town that only exists because they both traveled through time to ensure that it existed.
Yeah, that's kind of the short of it. The long of it, I guess, is Mater. It's the same, Lightning's like, oh, Mater, tell me a story. And then Mater's like, cool, it's really bonkers. Yeah. So Mater's setting up a billboard with a clock on it. Because you know how people put billboards with analog clocks on the highway? You get it.
I think it's the courthouse?
No, in Time Travel Mater, it's just literally a roadside billboard. I watched this 10 minutes ago because I hadn't watched it yet.
I'm currently reading the plot instead of remembering, so that's... They got the plot wrong.
Yeah.
Time for a wiki misquote of the day, I guess.
Yes. You already said it. So, yeah, I was saying, it's literally, he put up a billboard that says time to stop in Radiator Springs, and it has a normal-sized analog clock on it in the center. As if, you know when you're driving and you have time to look and perceive again, it's not any bigger than a wall clock, but that's I can't get this caught up this early. he does a bad job. The billboard falls on him, and somehow the clock becomes embedded in his engine. This makes him sneeze because his engine is his nose, I guess. And the careens off backwards, and the clock spins as he goes back in time. He meets Stanley, the founder of Radiator Springs, and he's a radiator cap salesman. And he's like, "You want a radiator cap?" And Mater's like, "No, I do not, sir. You're a statue where I'm from." He doesn't say that, but then Stanley's like, "Okay, whatever. I guess I'm gonna leave then." And Mater's like, "Wait, he's got to stay, or Radiator Springs is dang screwed." Uh, so he goes back to the future real quick, be like, "Yep, town's not here." He grabs Lightning. It's the weirdest way Lightning has ever been involved in one of them, I'll say, because it cuts to like how Lightning will be like, "That none of this is true, obviously," and instead of replying, the Mater that's within the story travels to that point in time and grabs Lightning and takes him back into it. So it's hard to think about. Some stuff happens, and he meets Lizzie, and they fall in love, and they make Radiator Springs. Well, that's what happens in
So,
Time Travel Mater.
for a moment, I thought you were going to say it was weird how they involved Lightning McQueen, because what Mater does is he grabs him, brings him back in time, and then just rips off a part of his. And then I just thought,
He
well,
does. No, yeah.
no, Lightning gets hurt in most of them, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way he convinces Stanley to stay is by kidnapping Lightning McQueen, ripping off his
Mm-hmm.
radiator cap and throwing it, and then demanding that Lightning buy a radiator cap from Stanley.
Yeah. Does Mater just not have a radiator? Why did it have to be lightning? That doesn't make sense.
Can't can't
Cars
rip
have
off
to
his
have
own.
radiators.
Can't rip off his
He
own radiator.
certainly could. He one hundo could.
If anyone could, it'd be him.
Yeah. If anyone would, it would be him.
I think okay, not to discount everything we've said about all of these, but what if
Sure.
all of these tall tales are sick, delusional dreams of Mater's in which he gets to just harm his best friend who he is intensely jealous of, and that's why in every dream he's the hero, he's the protagonist who's getting all the fame and all the glory, and Lightning is just being tortured forever.
Nah, that sucks. Uh, I think Mater is maybe tormenting Lightning. I don't know intentionally or not, but I don't think it's because he's jealous. I think Mater's just a powerful bored god who does what he wants, and sometimes he lets Lightning be important, but other times he's like, I'm gonna go fly with an alien and travel back through time. You're gonna come, Lightning." And Lightning's like, "What?" And then he is forced to.
Maybe it's one of those things where because Mater is this super powerful godlike being, he just like overestimates Lightning. So every time
Okay.
he's just like, "Oh yeah, Lightning can handle this. He's also a god, clearly the god of lightning."
Yeah, well,
So
he.
he expects too much from him, and that's why Lightning gets hurt every time. And then Mater just has to revive him with his magical godlike doctor powers.
Yeah, yeah, I think Mater's just magic. I think that's like I hate it when we just say, "Yeah, it's just magic," but like, what can you do with this guy?
If anyone gets to be magic in this universe, it's Mater.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about it, but yeah, one thing I want to. This is super minor, but like when he travels back like to the first period, everything is in sepia tone, and then he travels a little forward, and everything is in black and white. Is that just like a film, like a way they're telling us the story, or do you think everything was actually in sepia tone and or black and white in the past in this universe?
I think it's one of those things where, since this is a weird technovirus universe, you have to
Yeah.
realize that Oh, yeah, the nanites infected and turned everyone into cars, but they were still developing as technology would develop normally. So at first, they could only like see things in sepia tone, and then they could see in black and white instead. They had a more crisp image with better lighting, and then they eventually like the nanites developed into the ability to see in color. So it's not that everything was in sepia tone or black and white. It's that that's all they could see.
Okay. Yeah, they are technology people. The cameras that would be their eyes, I guess. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Okay, so here's
Yeah.
here's a
Yeah.
point in which I'm going to vamp for some amount of time while I very cleverly distract everyone from the fact that I'm trying to find the thing that I'm looking for on this page. Okay, so the thing I want to do is I want to say a fun fact, but it's not the one I had
Okay.
planned. It's just a fun fact that involves something that you said about Mater that I'm really liking, and that thing is um
Sure. You're doing great, John.
all right. So in Warhammer, Warhammer
Sure. Yeah, go
40K,
ahead.
there is
Yeah.
there is this like storyline element of how orcs, these big brutish creatures, are able to do everything technologically to keep up with like the space
Oh, yeah,
marines.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
think that's kind of the source of Mater's power. The orcs in this universe, they are able to utilize technology and all this jazz through a psychic power that they don't know they have, where if they think that something is true, then it is true. And it's the sort of thing that allows them to put a bunch of like garbage together and make a air quotes mech suit that functions just because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And it also allows them to have a spaceship that doesn't have windows. Like it has windows, but without anything, like no glass or nothing. It's just an open space. And they're not sucked out into space because they all have this very powerful psychic link that allows them to exist in that space, and it allows the non window to function as a very airtight window because they think it should.
Huh.
And I think that that weird imagination power is exactly how Mater does any of these things. He
No,
just
yeah.
he just
I
believes
think
things should be, and that's why they are.
yeah. I like that for Mater. I feel like I want Mater to I almost want Mater to know he's making these things. He's bending reality, you know? I
Mm.
want Mater to be doing it intentionally. I don't know why exactly, but I feel like I don't know. These aren't just like Mater thinking, "Oh, I could should be able to jump over this large thing," and then he can. These are Mater remembering entire fabrications, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that then become factual if we're doing that. So I think Mater gets is just bored and has the ability, maybe just through storytelling. He tells a story and it can become true
Hmm.
retroactively.
See, the only part of that that I wouldn't necessarily be a fan of is the idea that he has that much control over it. I like the
Yeah,
idea of it being a power that he has, but not one that he knows he has so much as he likes telling stories and he gets so into the stories that they become true rather than, oh, he wants it to be true so it is.
yeah, okay, I can see that.
He's like he's got that beautiful child mentality of they're just so excited that they just keep going further and further into this just absurd thing that they're doing, and it becomes real to them.
And everyone else in Mater's case.
Yep,
Yeah, I like that.
he shapes reality. He could be like the focus on Earth of all of the nanites.
Okay, okay, that
What if
I could get into that. Yeah,
what if Mater is Patient X?
yeah.
He's the first vehicle that got
I
infected and he spread it to everyone.
what? Okay, Mater was there was nothing and then there was Mater. Okay, Mater is very lonely. Mater starts telling stories of these other creatures like him to himself to keep himself occupied. They start appearing around him. It's not that he create. Oh gosh, that's just Mater as God. Uh, I'm not sure. I want to go as far as
As soon as you started the story with first there was nothing, then there was Mater.
yeah. No, maybe should have seen that one a little bit sooner. I don't want Mater to be God, so I'm not gonna. The other one, the thing you said. Yep.
Okay, so you know that alien that he sees in the
Yeah.
other one? What if he was one of those aliens? And he got really into a story, like he somehow observed Earth, got really into a story and started telling a story, and that story is what turned him into Mater, and then he just kept telling the
Okay.
story, and that is why he's on Earth and why sometimes he'll be visited by his mothership because he's just a child whose imagination got away from them and created an entire reality based on our reality that he just observed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like halfway in between Mater is God and Mater doesn't know what he's doing.
Yep. I think that's it.
All
I
right.
think we found a good marriage of it. There are before we get too much into oh gosh, Mater can time travel. What does this mean? There are a few like tiny things just from the short that I want to do that I wrote down. One is like right at the beginning because like why Mater starts telling the story is Lizzie drives up and says hello to the statue of Stanley. And Lightning's like, Mater, how did Stanley and Lizzie meet? Which, like, I don't know. I wouldn't expect him to know that, but of course he does because he's a time traveling demigod. Uh, and Mater's like, oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite stories from history. It all started last week. And Lightning goes, last week? And Mater goes, shush, let me tell my story. And, like, there's some genuine anger in Mater's voice when he does it, and it's like really, really weird and out of character for Mater. He just explodes on, and it's not like huge, but for Mater, it's just weird, and I don't.
He's tired of his demigod powers being questioned.
Yeah, like it jolted me. I was like, that's not Mater, which I don't know. I don't like the idea of if we're saying he has this power, and we are saying that also him being just on like a hair trigger with a short fuse. But I just wanted to mention that one.
His fury?
Yeah, he does have fury right underneath a thin veneer, as do so many of us. Anyway, uh, Stanley in the past, like I said, he's a radiator cap salesman.
Mm-hmm.
And when he sells Lightning the radiator cap, he has this crazy contraption that he can control with his tires to put on the radiator cap. Do you remember that?
Yep, the weird like I don't know, the stereotypical a guy who is a door-to-door salesman back in the past whips out like a box that just unfolds itself and sets itself up so he can display his wares. It's
Yeah,
that
yeah,
but
yeah.
taken to an extreme.
Yeah, it basically has what I would best describe as like I don't know, like a crane game
Mhm.
that he controls with a tiny pedal on the ground that he like adjusts with his tire, and somehow it has enough like precision to grab a radiator cap from several and screw it in on Lightning's radiator in just a way that was very strange, but like it was an interesting glimpse of like I don't know whatever their hands, but like I don't know how they made that cart, but things like that cart could be a good way to explain away a lot of the what of their handsing, you know?
I mean, somehow he travels back in time and he finds a guy who has a machine that is more capable than his hook. A hook that is capable of doing pretty much everything.
Yeah, like
So
he's very precise with it.
that just further lends itself to my theory of they got to a point where they developed technology that kept doing things for them, so much so that they no longer need to do anything really. Things just kind of happen because the machines that were built machines that built machines that built machines that all just kind of work when they're supposed to, how they're supposed to, and it's really weird.
It's not unweird. But only other thing, and like there was a lot of stuff that happened in this episode. I just feel like we're gonna spend a lot of the time talking about the implications of time travel in the cars first. But there is a car once Radiator Springs has been more built who goes up to get like a fountain of water drink in his radiator. They do treat filling your radiator up like you're drinking, like how we would treat drinking water,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't surprising to me, but like I don't know, it was actually just a kind of interesting detail. I kind of liked that they included that actually.
Yep, that's the whole
Uh,
Radiator Springs bit.
yeah, yeah. But the car that was filling it up was wearing like a classic like Scotsman hat, and he had a bunch of golf clubs on the back of his car himself,
Mm-hmm.
like normal human sized golf clubs.
Yep.
And like I don't know, man, has he used those?
He wears them.
Do you think they're just a fashion statement? Or
I don't know if they're a fashion statement. I think it's more of like one of those things where the soul inhabiting that is it's just attached to them for some reason. Just like everything else, it's just for some reason any vehicle is what it is, and that's part of the vehicle for some reason. Because he's clearly like a golf cart, but like,
no, I don't think he was a golf cart. I think he was just like a rich person car.
hmm, I'm gonna.
Like this doesn't matter that much, but he was just a car.
Oh, he's just a rich person car. Why are his eyes closed?
He's enjoying a cool radiator
Okay,
refresh.
because at this point, it looks like he just doesn't have eyes.
Yeah, it does look like he's just a car, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like a not sentient car.
Like, if you were to show me this
That'd be
picture and then I didn't see the car with eyes right behind him, I might for a moment assume this is just a car.
oh man, that's troubling. They can blend in a bit too well for me.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, those are like the not time travel things that I had about this one. I I don't know, man. I want to talk about the fact that I don't think that those are just attached to him for no reason. I think somehow this car golfs, and I don't know how or why, or even why they put the golf car in Radiator Springs in the past, which was literally a town in the middle of the desert and still is, but like,
Because who likes to
why would.
travel more than wealthy people?
Sure, but like, how's he got his clubs in the desert? There's
Because he's going to a tournament and he decided to take the
sure,
long way.
whatever.
And then some ruffians, some street toughs, pushed him off.
I don't know. I don't know, man. He golfs. He puts it in his mouth and can really just articulate those teeth and tongue to make it hit the ball good. I'm gonna say the game is a lot longer because I don't know. I'm gonna assume the course is the same amount, and they can't get the torque with their mouths that humans can with their arms.
I,
So I'm gonna
I don't
say
know.
that it takes like 40 strokes per hole.
I feel like I feel like these giant mouths might be able to get just the right like angle on it to launch it like crazy.
They also would be coming at it from a lower angle,
Mm-hmm.
like a which would not make it be as unless they designed the golf clubs around this. Welcome to our golf episode. Unless they designed the golf clubs a little differently, the ball wouldn't be able to get very high.
Mm.
It doesn't matter. I just noticed a car had some golf clubs, and that messed with me for a while. You want to talk about how Mater can travel through time at will?
Sure, but what if they held the golf club like off to the side? I think that's what it is. They put it in their mouth, they hold it off to their side, and then they like have the top of the club underneath their teeth on one side of their mouth, and then they push with their tongue.
okay, one more, and I promise we're going to talk about time travel. They could just, I don't know how, but they could somehow attach it to their side, sort of like Happy Gilmore it, and like take a running start and drive real fast at the ball. That
Okay.
they could get the torque they need that way.
Yep.
Maybe a bit less control, so I'm still gonna say lots more strokes per hole, but
Or they just hold it out to the side in their mouth, and they get like a good mile head start, and
that's too
they
much.
just
They don't need
straight
that
up
much.
they're jousting a golf ball.
Yep. We good news, everybody. We have given you okay, but one more. They hold it straight out, and then they sort of like do a donut real quick
Okay, I like the
to like
donuts.
give themselves some extra
The
power.
donuts are good. I like it.
Yeah. So the burning question all of you had: how do these cars golf? I think we got it. Putting would be they don't need power for that, so they could do what we were talking about
Hmm.
originally with their mouths. So yeah, that's how these suckers golf.
Yep, you
You're
you may have
welcome.
thought, well, why didn't you answer this in the sports episode? And it's because I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't think of it. We're pretty dumb. John, Mater time travels.
All right, so this entire thing, again, it's a paradox of Radiator Springs would not have existed had he not gone back in time and made sure that Stanley stayed there.
Which
Which also
to me,
means a lot of things, because like one of the things is Stanley died there, and I'm pretty sure he died at a decently young age, because like that the statue looks pretty much like him. So like
yeah,
that statue was probably erected somewhat recently after they got married, I guess. That's
that's pretty
sad.
sad.
Yep.
Uh,
Okay, so
but
Mater had to like just not tell him, "Hey, avoid this thing that's gonna kill you," even if it's like, "Oh, your engine's gonna wear too easily. Better take care of it." No, he doesn't say anything about it. He doesn't try and extend this man's somewhat short life. He just, "Hey, stay in this desert and die pretty young."
okay, so hear me out. I'm not going to talk about your thing. I'm completely changing the subject. That was not a like. I don't want to talk about yours. I just realized I was going to be changing the subject and wanted to acknowledge it. Yours is good. He's dead. Uh, uh, but the fact that Radiator Springs was there already, even though Mater had not traveled back in time yet, to me implies that like time is set. You know, like Prisoner of Azkaban style, in which like you find out that they don't really change the past. They always go back in time. So the first time they went through it, they were already affecting it. You know,
True,
was that? But
but the
but
thing
then
is, the thing is, they couldn't interact with themselves. They just had to make it seem like everything that was going to happen was going to happen, even though it didn't actually happen the whole time. But the problem with that is that Mater would have to have already done it for it to have happened, and that would also require him to not interact with himself, which he clearly does in the short.
no, yeah, I'm not saying all the same rules of Prisoner of Azkaban, and also this is clearly not how it works because we do see when Stanley is driving out, it's more of a Back to the Future style where he can see that he has changed something, so the town has disappeared in the
Hmm.
future. But then why does Radiator Springs already exist if Mater had to? I know this is the paradox you were talking about, but like I
Hmm.
just want to get into it a little bit more.
I think this just proves your theory of Mater told a story and it
Okay,
became true.
it didn't have to make sense.
He inserted himself into the story, and that's why it became true. It wasn't true to begin with. Time wasn't set like that, and it would have done what it would have done. But then Mater told a story and changed how time occurred, and changed motivations, and bent the will of people to his whims, and even worse, he clearly displayed the powers of a god, but also, if Mater is a god, he is an uncaring one.
Certainly. I don't know to what you're referring, but I agree with that statement.
He alters time, and the only thing he seems to be concerned with is, oh, I can't affect my future. That would be something I wouldn't want. I'm gonna change people, I'm gonna bend their wills, and I'm gonna have fun with it. And I'm not gonna help this guy live any longer because why would I care about that? I'm just gonna have fun and make this story interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, not to get too cliche here with our time travel discussions, but Car Hitler does definitely exist in this universe, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And Mater can do ripples through time.
Yep.
So,
I mean, Mater could
uh,
theoretically just tell a story about how Hitler actually never existed and all these things, and oh no, he's a Holocaust denier.
well, the thing is,
If he
if he denied
was,
the Holocaust, then the Holocaust would have not happened. And, like, that's a good thing if
in
the
order for
Holocaust
him to
doesn't
do a good
happen.
thing, he'd have to do a bad thing.
Yeah, okay. Huh. I don't want to get anywhere near justifying Holocaust denying, so we're going to move past that. Sound good?
Yep, that was
Cool.
kind of my thought on it as soon as like it came to that point of, oh, that's what that would be.
No, yeah. Yep. So should we bring in our other material?
uh the beautiful beautiful forbidden tall tales.
Yes. Real quick before we move on from time travel mater, I do have a I don't know. Think of a joke about the wiki quote of the day. This time, we are going over to pixar.fandom.com/wiki/time_travel_mater. We are going all the way down to trivia. You all know how I love the trivia section. In the second, I have a couple here because the trivia section for this 6 minute short is surprisingly robust, and there are a couple pretty good ones. But one of them is this episode marks the first of several things. And then there's another bullet point that says the first, and so far only, Cars Tunes Mater's Tall Tales episode with Lizzie in it. And actually, the first time she played a role as a secondary tritagonist.
You know, I looked at that and I was very confused, and then I just didn't even look it up. Didn't even.
Well, this is really is a landmark short, John, because it is the first with Lizzie as a secondary tritagonist.
Mm-hmm. You figure
So that
first with her in it would be good enough, but no,
no, no, no,
they have to
no.
go on and explain that the first she played a role as a secondary tritagonist.
And like it's very backwards in how it says it, because you'd think it would be the first time she played the role as a secondary tritagonist, and actually the first time she's been in Mater's Tall Tales. But
Well,
no,
it
it's
is inclusive. It's a weird statement, but the way they phrased it, it does include she wasn't a secondary tritagonist in the main films either.
okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I don't know. I think that's very specific and weird. But if we go a little further down, the concept of this segment.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go a little further down, I think it's three from the bottom here. It's Mater's "Whoa" when he notices he's in Tail Light Caverns is the same sound he makes when he sees the moon in Moon Mater, which like he just says "whoa" in both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's that's the trivia they decided to list on the official Pixar. Well, this is by no means official, but on one of the many Pixar wikis out in this universe. That was one of the little things they decided to put, and I thought that was pretty fun.
See, one thing in this trivia list that's really getting me is it says the first episode without any pities and without Mia and Tia in it. And then it goes on to explain in the most silly way This may be due to the fact that being modernized cars, they weren't even born yet. Which, I don't know if they meant to do this, but that implies that not only Mater, but also Lightning McQueen are like 100 years old.
Yeah, that was maybe not the. Maybe they're saying like they didn't appear in oldie times, but yeah, that is kind of a weird way to phrase it.
I mean, the first sentence, it's really strange wording that implies something but could mean like a thing that makes sense. In this one, this just doesn't make sense because me and Tia, like, there are modern time sections of this short, so
Yeah,
that wouldn't be a good explanation of it. So, and lightning was in the past, so why couldn't they have come to the past? What?
these are all excellent points, Johnny.
Huh.
That I don't have like a follow up this.
It's the first time they show Lightning McQueen's motor.
Yeah, for a second I was like, "Oh my gosh, under the hood," and then I remembered that Mater literally doesn't have a hood, so we've
Yeah, because
definitely
that
seen
time it
like
got
the
ripped off
engines.
by himself.
You all remember El Matador? Classic. Uh,
Not to be confused with the guy who ripped off his own nose/face to put it on a Christmas tree.
yes. We're just referencing all those episodes we've done, huh? But yeah, I think that's all I want to talk about on the wiki. You want to talk about backwards to the forwards, John?
Let's talk about backwards to the forwards.
I've been dying to talk about backwards to the forwards all day.
All right, so in backwards to the forwards, uh, Mater gets his powers in a little bit of a different way. This time he seems to be granted his powers by Lightning McQueen himself, by which I mean a bolt of lightning from the sky that just hits him. Mater's hit with
Yes,
lightning, and then he can travel backwards in time by simply being the world's best backwards driver.
I do want to establish real quick what backwards to the forwards is. This is a deleted early version of this same tall tale that you can watch like a full storyboard for.
Mm-hmm.
So, not necessarily canon, but certainly coming from the mouths of the writers. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable calling it completely not canon. And that's pretty important later.
This is one of the unmade tales. It's
Yes.
this is one of a few of Mater's unmade tales. It's a an official pitch that may or may not have ever actually been pitched, but you can find this online, and it's one of, I think, three or more, and they're all just a real treat. But this one is, I think, both of our favorites, and these are not to be confused with the things in like Cars 1 where you find out that they were planning on having a scene in which Lightning stumbles through a bunch of corpses.
No, yeah. Like, I will say, if you go and look up only one of these things, man, backwards to the forwards is a pretty good one to go look up real quick. Like it's maybe 6 minutes long, but I don't know. Put that thing on double speed and get right through it and see bonkers things we're about to tell you about. I'm just gonna go right ahead and say he doesn't just travel back to the founding of Radiator Springs, although he does make a stop there. He keeps going and then ends up in ancient Rome.
Huh. What sort of vehicles does he encounter in ancient Rome?
John, I'm so glad you asked because he does plop himself right down in the middle of the Colosseum, and there are just a bunch of sentient chariots.
Now, you did say he traveled back in time, so why is he in Rome?
It is unclear. I
Okay.
guess he also travels through space in this one. In this flick, he travels through space.
So did he
But
travel through space the first time he traveled back in time?
no, no, no. He was in the same place the first time, but the other times he went to Rome.
That
Uh,
doesn't sound very consistent.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason they didn't make this one, huh? But
Okay, so he's in Rome. He's in gladiatorial combat with some weird monster chariots with spiked, jagged teeth.
yes,
Any other creepier, weirder creatures he encounters?
yes, real quick about the chariots, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit more. They don't have horses. Obvious. I don't know if that's obvious or not. There's chariots that can move around. If they had horses, can you even imagine?
That
Man,
would
that'd
be
be
crazy. Like living animals? What? That'd be weird.
yeah. That sure would, John. Anyway, he does travel more back in time, and he goes back to like I don't know. We'll call it Jurassic times. Obviously, I don't know the periods, but should I talk about the vehicles or the other thing first? Would you say which is the bigger one I should end on?
Let's let's talk about the vehicles. What were the
Yeah, that's what I
vehicles?
was leaning towards.
Like, I don't think there were any vehicles back then.
You know, you'd think that was the case. You're wrong. What a stupid thing to think. He does meet what are basically cave people, and they are in fact giant stone wheels.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're just stone wheels, and they're the cave people. Where where is their face?
it's just kind of on there, if I remember right. It's just kind of there.
If I remember correctly, they had like two eyes above their mouth, and the mouth was just a hole in the center, and that was kind
Yeah,
of it.
and again, this was all storyboarded, so we don't know exactly how they would move, but in at least the storyboard, how he illustrates them talking is like this looks very natural for a mouth, not for a rigid stone circle. Like it, the mouth, the whole and their entire body constricts like they're talking. So that's pretty messed up. But even bigger than that, I'd say. And
Time
again,
for a
we'll
fun
talk
fact of the
about this
day
stuff.
is Cretaceous period, is when the other thing existed.
Cool.
Go ahead and say what the other thing is.
It does seem like the creator of this one was maybe a bit of a creationist because the cave people do coexist with just a dinosaur.
Not just a dinosaur, multiple dinosaurs. One of which, for
Yeah,
some reason, is like a Loch Ness monster. So that's
yeah,
something.
it's a lot of things I would say. And no, there weren't vehicles. I can't be clear enough about this. They're just dinosaurs.
Yep,
And like we've talked about, Dynaco exists, the brand in the present, and its logo is just a dinosaur.
and
So I guess that's self consistent. I guess.
do you want to know what the
But
justification was for the dinosaurs?
no, but yes, I guess.
The man who was talking
That, I
about it
think.
specifically says, and then he encounters a dinosaur because Dinoco has to be named after something. That was his reasoning behind including two or more dinosaurs in this sketch where he's traveling through time because he's struck by lightning.
Yeah, you didn't have to do that, you know? You could have just not put a living organic creature in your franchise, your multi-million dollar franchise, which has never seen an organic being before.
Oh boy.
I'm very tired, John, but we
That's
must
that's
forge on.
that's fair. All right. So cavemen existed in the Paleolithic era,
Yes, sure. That sounds correct.
which was sometime between 40,000 and 10,000 years ago. But the entire
Uh-huh.
period extends for more than like 2 million years into the past.
Mm-hmm.
So so like even if he's a creationist, that still doesn't work.
No,
None of that works. And plus,
none of it works.
cars, man.
Yeah, throwing sentient vehicles into the mix sure does muddy the waters a bit.
Oh boy. Okay. Now is as good a time as any
Yeah,
for a question from Liz.
yeah. We're gonna talk about it, but I just can't right this second. So go ahead. John's married to a woman named Lizzie. I'm dating a woman named Liz.
Yep. So,
That's a
time
joke.
for a question from Liz. This one's a real good one.
Yeah.
Here is the question from Liz. I can time travel. I just got here from the couch.
Oh.
Who is the best at it? It's me.
Okay. Huh.
That's the question from Liz.
No. Yeah. It certainly did seem like the question from Liz. Now.
Now, how are we going to approach answering this question from Liz?
Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. How?
Because of those four sentences, one of them is in fact a question, but that question is immediately answered by the sentence after it.
Huh.
I will also point out that the first statement is I can time travel, and then the second statement is evidence of just regular travel.
Well, John, did I feel like I made this joke last episode, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it since this is our time travel episode. Aren't we all just traveling through time 1 second at a time? You know?
Which, funny enough, is specifically a point they make in this unmade short.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Just because the clock's moving doesn't mean we're all traveling through time, Mater. And do you know how it ends?
Oh, he meets a future mater.
That's right before the ending. But the ending is the clock moves forward a tick and he freaks out and runs away.
Yeah. I feel like because the way he phrases the future mater coming in is he comes in for a second as like the proof that this is a true story, and the guy who is like sort of narrating it says a mater who can control his time travel,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty ominous to me.
Because
And the implication that there's just some point in the future in which mater gains control of his powers and just at whim travels through the temporal space.
mm-hmm. And also, there's an interesting thing where in this short, when he is exploring time, they go back in time to 1955. That's, I think, the
Mm-hmm.
first stop in time. So they go back to 1955, and Mater meets himself, and he's all nice, shiny blue. And the future Mater is a nice, shiny blue.
Yeah.
So I think what's happening throughout this story that they're telling is Mater is born or built, and then he gains just incredible power, but without the control of the power, it's like tearing his body up and making him look terrible. And then when he finally gains control over it, he reverts back to his younger form, becoming once and for all truly God King Mater.
Yeah. He gets so much control of his power that not only can he make his body travel through time, he made time travel through his body,
Mm-hmm.
reverting it to a younger form. Man, that's, I guess, deep.
He's
It
gaining
felt,
so much power.
yeah, yeah.
Also, he goes back to 1955 and meets himself, meaning that Mater is very old.
No, yeah, yeah.
Time for a
He
fun
certainly
fact of
is.
the day.
Uh
Mater
huh.
is in fact like 8 years older at least than Larry the Cable Guy.
Huh. Yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy was born in 1963, whereas it's implied in this forwards to the backwards is he was like taken out of the factory, like fresh out of the factory in 1955.
Huh. Larry the Cable Guy is older than my dad, but younger than my mom. That's my fun fact.
It okay, interesting.
Yeah. That was our new segment. Lucas wants to do a fun fact sometimes. Uh,
So Mater travels through time. He he encounters rock circles, rock circle donut
we yeah
creatures that are
we
cavemen.
can't not talk about that, John. We
They're
can't just
cavemen.
gloss past that.
They're not technological, they're not squishy, they're just rocks. They're circular rocks, and that's it. They have the concept of a wheel. They are based on a concept. I guess they have a soul and sentience, but they're just a rock.
Yeah, and I'm not super willing to make like overarching statements about the entire series from this, just because again it was deleted and never made.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in this, that rock's alive.
Yep,
It's just a rock.
it's just a rock,
It's
and
not.
there's a living creature right next to it throwing Mater into the future.
Yeah, like one we got.
Mm-hmm.
We got died. We had rest in peace, but we had dinosaur. We didn't have living rocks, and it's not technology. It's not our other explanation. It's not squishy bit, but it's also not just android people
Yeah,
because it's
it's
a
just a
rock.
rock. A circular, it's a rock donut that is a people.
And that evolves into a chariot, into a car,
Yep,
like very rapidly.
but the thing
Like,
is, it goes from being a rock to being made of wood to being made of
yeah,
metal.
to being.
And I don't understand.
I would have been more comfortable with wood to rock to metal. That seems at least, I don't know, a bit more natural. But
I don't see how wood could fit into this possibly.
no, yeah, wood is a little problematic, but it's the least problematic at the beginning to me for some reason.
Yeah,
And then,
I could guess that. Like I could figure that, but like still wood is in the middle of rock and metal.
so I,
And somewhere in there is dinosaurs.
yeah,
Just
dinosaurs are their own thing.
regular dinosaurs.
Organ organic life worked real great, and then there were rock wheel people who wiped out organic. I guess besides plant life, they wiped out organic animal life, which is pretty spooky. But I guess since I mean, obviously the common thread here is wheels. That the soul of a car is in the wheel, and just the rest evolves around it, and they evolve like Magnemite into Magneton, and just get
Are
more of
you
them.
are you suggesting that these these rock people, these rock donuts, fought the dinosaurs, and when they won, they gained experience and fused together?
I don't think I was trying to say that, but when you put it like that, that's kind of what I said. Yeah.
So,
So yeah,
so what that implies is that the dinosaurs did not go extinct because of some a like meteor or some other event. No, a bunch of circular rocks that are very much like Pokemon attacked these dinosaurs and killed all of them just so that they could fuse together and become car people. But only after the
yeah,
middle evolution, where for some reason they go from being a rock type to being a grass type to being a steel type.
I would call them a fighting type in the middle. But
I mean, they could be a fighting type at the beginning and the middle. They go from fighting rock to being fighting grass to being fighting
yeah,
steel.
okay. But yeah, I think Pokemon style evolution actually works really well for this, surprisingly enough, because like humans since caveman time are basic not all the way, but like basically the same.
Yep,
We didn't we didn't do anything as crazy as going from a rock wheel to a chariot to a full engined car. We like I don't know got a little taller.
we started standing
So
up straighter and lost a little bit of hair, and
yeah,
that's about it.
and like so the fact that this happened at least comparatively so rapidly, I think Pokemon style evolution, as crazy as it is, kind of works for this man.
It's halfway in between Pokemon and our evolution because the thing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it
yeah,
that's
yeah.
different is it still does take multiple lifetimes. It's just it doesn't take millions of years. It takes like 10,000 years to go from being a rock to being a wooden chariot to being a car.
And actually, now that I think about it, they don't just go to being a car; they also go to being planes and boats.
I mean, I have to imagine that the planes and boats came from something else.
Or, or they okay. Y'all know about Pokemon, right? So in Pokemon, in the past two generations, they've introduced something called regional variants, uh, in which they
The
took
water is
old
just a different
Pokemon.
region and the sky is just a different region.
Yes, so in Pokemon Sun and Moon, they took Pokemon from all the way back in Pokemon Red and Blue, the original games, and said since these Pokemon evolved in a different environment, they're still the same Pokemon, but they have different attributes.
Like
So, like, a fire
dark
type became
type.
an ice type.
See, I don't get that. Like they turn a normal type into a dark type. I can accept that. I can't accept going from being fire to being ice. Why why would it just become the opposite?
Well, they lived on a snowy mountain, is like why I guess the game's explanation. It's not a good one, but I guess some wheels just got in some water.
Someone gave them a water stone.
Yeah, sure. They're like Eevee.
Yeah, the rocks are
They
Eevee.
have split evolutions.
They're Eevee Magnemites.
You all are relating to this, right?
Okay, so they killed all the dinosaurs so they could evolve
Yeah.
over multiple generations, and some of them got water stones, some of them got, I don't know,
Well,
jet
there
fuel
isn't really a
stones.
flying type stone. Yeah.
Like, is there a feather that can make things evolve?
Not off the top of my head, but we'll say sure. But John, they killed all the organic life. There can't be feathers.
I mean, there were, and then they killed them and
Oh
took
yeah,
them.
you got me there.
Uh,
Yeah, that I really want to stress that I think that the stones murdered the dinosaurs in this perhaps alternate timeline because I
Honestly,
don't know, man.
I think that T Rex, I don't think it was trying to harm Mater at all. I think it was trying to save him from the rock people. The dinosaur's like, oh no, Mater, run!
Yeah, if all I've ever seen are like dinosaurs and these crazy dangerous stone wheel people, and then I see Mater. Mater looks a little bit more like a dinosaur than like the stone people. So maybe I think yeah, he was trying to save what he maybe thought was one of his own.
He's, oh, you're a baby dinosaur. I'm going to sacrifice myself for you. He chucks him into the sky, and all of a sudden he disappears. And then the dinosaur's like, wait a minute, I'm dying for what now? And
Where'd that
then
guy go?
and then the rock people just, I don't know, cast roll out.
Ooh, they would definitely no rollout. It gets stronger every turn. Uh, John and I know a lot about Pokemon. If you couldn't tell.
So I'm really liking cars being Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't think we can apply it to the main universe, but in this alternate backwards to the forwards timeline we're talking about, I think it works almost too well.
It really does, and I love it. Okay, so there are too many other things to talk about with time travel in general. Do we have anything else that we just need to say about this one?
Yeah, I feel like the thing about continuing to talk about time travel is we would just talk about like time travel doesn't make sense, not time travel in the Cars verse doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense for all the reason time travel usually doesn't make sense. Nothing about it is that special to Cars.
I mean, also, you
So,
can't, like, type in the time because you don't have hands.
yeah, yeah, Mater's very bad at it in both of them. Well,
Yep.
no, he's bad at it for a second in Time Travel Mater, and then he can control it perfectly.
Well, he's bad at
But
it for a bit, and then as soon as he needs to be good at it, he's good at it.
Yep, which supports our Mater can alter reality through telling stories theory.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What if we name this episode God King Mater?
It wouldn't be too inappropriate. We could really pave over any plot holes in this in any of these movies with just, oh, this is a story Mater is telling, so it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It works anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Like that time he made his best friend Lightning McQueen a god of lightning for fun.
No, yeah, especially in Mater's Tall Tales, but even in the main series, I think that should be our like last resort red button. But we
I
can.
mean,
That's
it's
something in our arsenal now.
the answer is a wizard did it, except instead of a wizard, it's specifically Mater, and Mater is not a wizard, he is the master of reality.
Yep, bow down to him, folks. I think that's about a good place to stop talking about cars for a week.
Alright, that's good for me. I could have rhymed it with remember to flow like a Cadillac, sing like a beamer, but then I realized there's other things to say.
Yes, like, thank you all so much for listening. It's very nice of you to do that. We always appreciate it. And I think this one's coming out right before the new year. So hopefully you've had a good holiday season and have a wonderful new year.
And Old Lang Syne.
Yeah, got it. Say some other stuff.
Remember to like, comment, subscribe, anything you can do. Please tell all your friends that you think might be in the least bit interested in this very, very niche podcast. We've got an email, thekachat@gmail.com. We've got Twitter. We don't have a Facebook page, but we do have individual Facebooks, which we might just don't add us on there. That's weird. And we do have Instagrams. Follow us if you want.
Yes. Sure. That Twitter is at the Kachat. We're also on a new thing called Podchaser. It's like IMDb for podcasts. If you want to go on there and specifically review us there, they're in really early days, so it could be very helpful to get reviews on that specifically at this infancy of a website. I think that's all we say.
That
So
sounds good to me.
yeah, I'm Lucas Southworth, and that's who I've been.
And I'm John Bishop, and that's who he's been.
What? Don't forget to float like a Cadillac.
And sting like a beamer.